over the last couple of weeks, we've unpacked the idea of the growth and the ownership mindset and given you guys some really actionable steps in terms of stepping into those headspaces. Then we've taken a look at core values, identifying what they are and how you might apply them to your day-to-day lives. Now that we've got both of those things on lock, it's time to look at the fun stuff, and that is identifying the goals that you'd like to achieve, which, let's be real, is the reason that you guys are here. So what we want to do with this video is make sure that you guys have got a really clear pathway and a really clear strategy that's going to seamlessly allow you to set your goals, make sure that they're aligned with your values, know exactly what you need to do on a day-to-day basis, and ultimately get you into that position where you can tick off those goals that you would like to achieve. If you are someone who thinks about goal setting and you brush over it because it's just like a tedious, boring process that has never actually allowed you to be successful, then I want you to, first of all, check your growth and ownership mindset. And second of all, give this video the attention that it deserves, because for a lot of people, if they haven't yet been successful, it's because we've stumbled at this first hurdle, which is the process of setting really clear value-aligned goals. We have identified some statistics around goal setting and why this process is so crucial. So a Harvard study identified that 83% of the population don't actually have any goals in mind. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a majority that I would like to not be included in, and it's quite a scary number. So if we have a think about the likelihood of us being successful without being clear on what we'd like to achieve, I wouldn't like to be part of that majority. Next up, we've identified that 14% of people have got a plan in mind, but they haven't actually taken the time to get really clear and specific with what those outcomes are. And 3% of people have actually got goals in mind that they've taken the time to write down. Now, of the 14% of people that had thought about their goals, they were 10 times more successful than the 83% of people who haven't. And the 3% of people who took the time to intentionally write down their goals and get really clear and specific, they were another 3 times more successful than the 14% who had just briefly thought about it. So again, if you're thinking about this goal setting process and you're not quite bought in, those are some really clear statistics that should make you think twice about giving this process a little bit more time, effort, and attention. What we've created, what we use with our clients, and what we've actually made accessible to you guys is our goal setting guide. So you'll be able to find this over in the link in our bio or in the notes below on the YouTube video. But what we're going to get you to do is open up this goal setting template, and I'm going to talk you through exactly why this template is put together the way that it is, and why these things that we have incorporated into the goal setting guide are so crucial and so important for you guys to have long-term success. The first thing that we're going to do is have a think about what our 1, 3, 6, and 12-month goals are. Now, for a lot of people, when we think about goal setting, we sit in 2 camps. Might be the first person who is so caught up on the short-term goals that they haven't thought about how what they're doing might influence them on the long term. So this might be the person who is constantly buying into 8-week and 12-week challenges. Maybe we're restrictively dieting all of the time and we're finding ourselves yo-yo dieting, we're on, we're off track, and we're actually unable to stick to something for anything more than 3 months. Or we might be the person who's looking at things or looking at goals that are way too ahead of where we are right now. So ultimately, we haven't got the foundations down pat, and our goals are just set way too far that they're unachievable for us, and they're constantly leaving us feeling defeated or like we've failed. So in order to combat that, we like to think about things in terms of 1, 3, 6, and 12-month goals that are going to allow you to build up the habits, the non-negotiables, the action steps to allow you to commit to that longer-term goal, whilst also making sure that you're successful along the way. Once you've identified exactly what those goals are, you're going to go back and have a think about how these goals align with your values. Now, this is one of the components of goal setting that a lot of people miss. Now, the reason that this is so important is because in order for you to commit to the day-to-day action steps and the non-negotiables of that goal, they need to align with your values. Otherwise, the likelihood of you doing them is going to be pretty slim. If we have a think about some of the things that you might need to commit to get that goal, those things are going to feel uncomfortable. Waking up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym, or coming home late from work and needing to cook a meal instead of ordering Uber Eats might feel hard from time to time. They're things that you're probably going to want to do, unless these align with your values and exactly the person that you'd like to be and how you would like to show up in the world. So it's really important that the goals that we've identified are in alignment with the values that we have, because ultimately when things get hard, this is exactly what we're going to fall back on. If you continue to go through the goal setting guide, you're going to find a few more columns in there that are just going to allow you to fine tune that process and make sure that the goals that you have are as deliberate, clear, and actionable as possible. So once you've gone through this process, if you kind of look back at the time and it's taken you anything shorter than about an hour and a half, then we recommend you go back and you do it again, because something that we don't want to rush through, and we want to make sure that you guys have given this the thought, the attention, and the accuracy that it actually deserves. And if we've just rushed through it, it is going to be reflective of your goals down the track. Now that we have got our outcome-based goals, which for most of you guys is going to be something like a weight loss goal, potentially competing in a powerlifting competition, lifting body weight deadlift, might be something like committing to a photo shoot, we've got a list of outcome-based goals. Now, this is all well and good, and it's amazing that we've got them, but the step that we need to consider first is how we're actually going to get there. So this moves us to the next concept, which is the be, do, have method. And this is the lens that we like to look at our behavior through when it comes to achieving our goals. And what the be, do, have method does is allow us to come from a place of already having the goal. So first of all, we start with being, and this means being the person who has already achieved the outcome before we've actually achieved the outcome. So this might feel a little bit counterintuitive for you guys, but it's allowing us to step into the person who's already been successful, which means that what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is ultimately going to lead us to that outcome anyway. So if we think about the person who has got the double body weight deadlift, we're thinking about who that person is being, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis to allow them to have that outcome. They might be committed, they might be disciplined, they might be hardworking, and these are all things that we would have identified through our values list. So then we need to think about what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. So now we can start to paint a picture in terms of why it's so important that our goals are value aligned, because we need to have a think about what we're doing to reflect those values on a day-to-day basis. So they might be meal prepping on the weekend. They might be coming home from work late and going straight to the gym. They might be going to bed at a reasonable hour so they get enough sleep to train in the morning. So we're starting to think about what this person is actually doing, what habits they're creating, what their non-negotiable checklist looks like that's allowing them to have that end outcome. So once you guys have got that really clear, deliberate list of goals, we then want to start to think about the action steps that we need to engage in on a day-to-day basis. So ultimately, it's going to lead us to having the outcome that we would like. So once you're done with this, the list might seem overwhelming. It might seem like you're a lot further back than what you initially thought, but ultimately, the secret to success is probably in the things that you're not doing right now. So it is really important that we go over this with a fine-tooth comb and start to action those items so we can actually take steps towards that goal.